Many MMA fighters on the regional circuit have big dreams to make it to the big show. They build themselves up in smaller promotions, gaining the necessary experience and skills before they are called up to the UFC roster. This process takes years of hard work and dedication, which helps them to prepare for the world-class fighters in the UFC. In 2018, we saw many young fighters enter the UFC and put on some great eye-catching performances, which has set them up for bigger fights in 2019. These certain fighters have stuck out amongst the division, where they are destined to do big things in 2019. So for this video, I'll be talking about 10 most promising newcomers of 2018. Number 10. Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker is a light heavyweight prospect who burst into the UFC quite recently in a spectacular fashion. He first made his appearance on Dana White's Contender Series in Brazil, where he faced recently cut UFC fighter Henrique da Silva. Henrique da Silva had lost 4 fights in a row and was knocked out in his last UFC fight against Gokhan Saki at UFC Final 117. Since that fight, he had won 2 fights in a row and was looking for the opportunity to make it back into the UFC. When both Johnny Walker and Henrique da Silva faced each other, Johnny Walker was able to stuff all of his takedowns and just picked him apart on the feet with his long limbs. He even attempted a rear naked choke in the second round. After the 3 rounds, Johnny Walker had won the fight by unanimous decision and signed a contract with the UFC. His UFC debut was set at UFC Final 140, where he was scheduled to face the hard-hitting Khalil Rountree Jr. in a 3-round light heavyweight bout. Khalil Rountree Jr. started his UFC career with many ups and downs, but had found the confidence in his recent fights to showcase his skills. He had just recently finished kickboxing phenom Gokhan Saki viciously by TKO and was looking to gain momentum in the weight class. At UFC Final 140, Johnny Walker came out aggressive and was able to drop Khalil Rountree Jr. with a short-range elbow and followed up with punches to get the TKO victory. With the division lacking in contenders, an aggressive fighter like Johnny Walker is a great addition to the weight class, where it will be interesting to see how he progresses in 2019. Number 9. Manny Bermudez. Manny Bermudez is a bantamweight prospect who, with 2 stunning performances, has started his UFC career very impressively. 11 of his 13 wins have come by submission, which shows that his strength lies in the grappling department. After compiling an MMA record of 11-0, he was signed with the UFC and was scheduled to face Albert Morales at UFC on Fox 28. In the fight, he was able to lock in a high elbow guillotine choke in the second round to get the submission victory. He next faced Davy Grant at UFC Final 134, where in the fight, Manny Bermudez was able to land a stiff right hand, immediately dropping Davy Grant to the canvas. He immediately entered the full mount and locked in a triangle choke, choking Davy Grant unconscious. With 2 great submission wins in his UFC career, things look very bright for the young fighter. This is only the beginning for Manny Bermudez, but as he steps up in competition with each fight, we'll truly see how good he really is in the Shark Tank of the bantamweight division in the UFC. Number 8. Macy Barber. Macy Barber is a strawweight prospect who recently made her debut in the UFC very impressively. She first made her appearance on Dana White's Contender Series, where she faced Jamie Colleen, whose wins were all by finishes. Macy Barber, on the other hand, came into this contest with the undefeated record of 4-0. In the fight, Macy Barber put on pressure on Jamie Colleen, where she threw a number of kicks from the outside and kept trying to close the distance. In the second round, she was able to secure a takedown and landed some devastating ground and pound to finish the round strongly. In the third round, she was able to secure the takedown again and landed vicious elbows to get the TKO finish, which earned her a UFC contract. Her UFC debut was set at UFC Final 139, where she was scheduled to face Hannah Cifers in a 3-round strawweight bout. In the fight, Macy Barber showed her aggressiveness and was able to secure the takedown and absolutely pummeled poor Hannah Cifers until the referee saw enough and stopped the fight. At the age of 20 years old, she hasn't even begun to hit her full potential and is still learning and evolving as a mixed martial artist. Macy Barber has so much talent and will definitely make noise in the strawweight division in 2019. Number 7. Mayra Bueno Silva. Mayra Bueno Silva is a flyweight prospect who has shown great talent and skills since entering the UFC. She first made her appearance on Dana White's Contender Series in Brazil, where she was set to face Mayra Souza dos Santos. Both fighters held an undefeated record and had a lot of pressure to impress Dana White. In the fight, Mayra Souza dos Santos was able to pin Mayra Bueno Silva against the cage quite early on. Whilst on the cage, Mayra Bueno Silva was able to sneak in a ninja choke and choked Mayra Souza dos Santos unconscious in the first round, which earned her a UFC contract. Her UFC debut was set at UFC Final 137, where she was scheduled to face Gillian Robertson in a 3-round flyweight bout. In the fight, Gillian Robertson was able to take the fight to the ground early on and was landing hard shots from the top. Mayra from the bottom was able to adjust and secured a deep armbar which forced a tap. Mayra Bueno Silva has proved that she is a legit threat in the flyweight division, and she certainly looks like she has the skills to hang with the best fighters in the 125-pound division. She is a great addition to the weight class, where I am expecting her to continue in her winning ways in 2019. Number 6. Bobby Moffett. Bobby Moffett is a featherweight prospect who has shown a different level of grappling since joining the UFC. He first made his appearance on Dana White's Contender Series where he faced Jacob Kilburn. In the fight, Bobby Moffett was able to secure the takedown early and tried his best to find a submission, but was not successful. In the second round, Bobby Moffett was able to catch Jacob Kilburn's spinning kick and secured the takedown and locked in a Darce choke, forcing the tap, which earned him his UFC contract. His UFC debut was set at UFC Final 139 where he was scheduled to face Chas Skelly in a 3-round featherweight bout. In the fight, Bobby Moffett overwhelmed Chas Skelly with his grappling skills, where he was able to lock in a Darce choke to get the victory. Bobby Moffett has showcased his submission skills very well in his UFC career so far, and seems like a very decent prospect to look out for. The UFC featherweight division is stacked with top talent, and with the new addition of Bobby Moffett, things could get more interesting. 9 of his 14 wins have come by submission, where in 2019 it will be interesting to see how he progresses in the featherweight division. Number 5. Curtis Millender. Curtis Millender is a welterweight prospect who has shown a range of well-rounded skills since making it into the UFC. He stands 6 feet 3 inches tall and is very big for the weight class, where in his fights his length has helped him to attack his opponents from the outside. After compiling an MMA record of 14-3, he was signed with the UFC and was scheduled to face former title challenger Thiago Alves at UFC Final 126. In the fight, he stalked Thiago Alves down and landed hard kicks from the outside. Near the end of the first round, Thiago Alves was able to secure a brief takedown. In the second round, Curtis Millender started off aggressive and landed a huge knee, dropping Thiago Alves flat. He next faced Max Griffin at UFC 226 where in the fight, he was able to showcase more of his clean striking skills for all 3 rounds to win the fight by unanimous decision. Curtis Millender's patience inside the octagon has been key in him setting up his strikes accurately. His striking ability and his length will certainly cause problems for the welterweights as he progresses up the ladder in 2019. Number 4. Jeff Neal. Jeff Neal is an exciting welterweight prospect who has looked like a terrifying force in his last couple of fights. He first made his appearance on Dana White's Contender Series and faced Chase Walden in a 3-round contest. In the fight, Jeff Neal was taken down early in the fight but managed to get up to his feet where he landed a stinging left hand and followed up with punches to get the TKO victory. This performance impressed Dana White and he was signed with the UFC. His UFC debut was set at UFC Final 126 where he was scheduled to face Brian Camozzi in a 3-round welterweight bout. In the fight, he was able to pepper Brian Camozzi on the feet with his combinations and close the distance and found an opening to sink in a rear naked choke to secure the win. His second fight was scheduled to be against Frank Camacho at UFC 228 where in the fight, he had almost finished Frank Camacho with a devastating right hand and strikes, but Frank Camacho was able to hold on. In the second round, Jeff Neal landed a lightning fast head kick which dropped Frank Camacho like a sack of potatoes, getting the KO victory. With 2 stunning finishes in 2018, Jeff Neal looks unstoppable right now and looks like a force to be reckoned with. You can certainly expect big things from Jeff Neal, who will likely surge towards the top of the welterweight division in 2019. Number 3. Mackenzie Dern. Mackenzie Dern is a world-renowned jiu-jitsu practitioner who has gained many accolades in the grappling world. She has a phenomenal grappling ability and has tied her opponents up in dangerous submissions in her fights. After compiling an MMA record of 5-0, she was signed to the UFC where she was scheduled to face Ashley Yoder at UFC 222. In the fight, Mackenzie Dern came out aggressive and initiated the grappling immediately and was looking for any way to take the fight to the ground. Ashley Yoder came back strong in the second round and was able to drop Mackenzie Dern near the end of the round. In the third round, Mackenzie Dern came out hard and was able to secure a takedown in the late round and almost sunk in a rear naked choke. After the 3 rounds, the split decision was given to Mackenzie Dern. She was next scheduled to face Amanda Cooper at UFC 224. On the day of the weigh-ins, Mackenzie Dern weighed in at 123 pounds, where she was 8 pounds over the strawweight limit. Amanda Cooper still wanted to go ahead with the fight, and the fight itself went on as scheduled. In the fight, Mackenzie Dern was able to drop Amanda Cooper with a vicious right hand and immediately jumped on her back to sink in a rear naked choke to get the submission victory. Mackenzie Dern's grappling ability is on a whole different level, and she definitely has what it takes to hang with the best fighters in the strawweight division. With the right discipline and coaching, she could definitely be successful in getting her hand raised against world-class fighters. She has all the talent in the world and could definitely be holding UFC gold in the near future. Number 2. Antonina Shevchenko. Antonina Shevchenko is a flyweight prospect who is the older sister of the current UFC Women's Flyweight Champion Valentina Shevchenko. Both sisters have a wealth of experience in Muay Thai, where they have held numerous world titles across the world. Their high-level Muay Thai skills have transferred very well to MMA, where they have just overwhelmed their opponents with just their striking. She first made her appearance on Dana White's Contender Series, where she faced Jamie Navarro in a 3-round flyweight bout. In the fight, Antonina Shevchenko was able to stuff Jamie Navarro's takedown and was able to reverse the position and stayed on top for the majority of the first round. In the second round, Jamie Navarro was outmatched on the feet and was just eating shots left, right and center. Jamie Navarro was able to get a late takedown but wasn't able to do much. Antonina Shevchenko took it up a notch and was just going full beast mode, where she was just landing hard shots out of nowhere. She eventually pinned Jamie Navarro against the cage and unleashed a barrage of brutal knees, where the referee Herb Dean had seen enough, where she was awarded the TKO victory. After receiving a UFC contract, her next fight was scheduled to be against Ji-Yoon Kim at the Ultimate Fighter 28 finale. In the fight, Antonina Shevchenko was able to get her shots from the outside using her movement and footwork, where she was able to get a late takedown in the first round. In the second round, she was able to dominate the striking exchanges and manage the distance very well. In the third round, she was able to catch a kick and secured the takedown. After the 3 rounds, she was given the unanimous decision victory. With 2 dominant performances, we can expect Antonina Shevchenko to do massive things in the flyweight division, where by the end of 2019, she will definitely be close to title contention. Number 1. Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya is a middleweight prospect who has been hyped up as the next big thing in MMA due to his dynamic striking skills. He has a heavy background in high-level kickboxing, where right now he has become a well-rounded mixed martial artist. After compiling an MMA record of 11-0, Israel Adesanya was set to make his UFC debut against Rob Wilkinson at UFC 221, where in the fight, he immediately shut Rob Wilkinson down with his striking to get the TKO victory in the first round. He would next pull off a split decision victory over Marvin Vettori at UFC on Fox 29, and would next outclass Brad Tavares with his superb striking skills, winning the fight by unanimous decision. He was next given a solid test in Derek Brunson, who had finished some of the best fighters in the world. Both fighters were scheduled to face each other at UFC 230, where leading up to the fight, both fighters got into a heated rivalry, which added more fuel to the fire. At UFC 230, Israel Adesanya overwhelmed Derek Brunson with his movement and his accurate strikes, and was able to secure the TKO victory. With just 4 fights in the UFC, Israel Adesanya is just a win away from securing himself a title shot at UFC Gold. His potential is through the roof, where his talent will lead him to do big things in the UFC in the future. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please make sure you hit that like button. And if you want to see more videos like this, please hit that subscribe button. So that was my list of the most promising newcomers of 2018. Let me know your honorable mentions in the comment section below, and I'll catch you guys next time.